Let's take you live to Canberra now. The opposition leader Tony Abbott at the launch of Pollie Pedal 2013, a cycling event which of course began back in 1998 by a number of federal and state politicians. Let's take a listen.
It's good to be here at Parliament House this morning with Cresswell, the CEO of Carers Australia, to officially launch Pollie Pedal 2013. This is the 16th annual Pollie Pedal. Every year since 1998, Pollie Pedal has gone about 1,000 kilometres raising money for various good causes. They include Youth in Search, the Sydney, the Paralympics, the Australian Paralympic team for the 2000 Paralympics, the Royal Far West, Ronald McDonald House, medical research at Westmead Hospital, Indigenous health scholarships, and for the last 2 years Carers Australia. And I've got to say that Carers Australia have been a really outstanding partner to work with in Pollie Pedal. Of all the various Pollie Pedal beneficiaries, I think I can honestly say that Carers Australia has been the most enthusiastic participant in the Pollie Pedal, and it's been terrific to work with you, Ara, as part of all of that. Could I just say, before asking Kevin to say a few words and then asking Ara to speak, that Pollie Pedal essentially has two purposes. Firstly, obviously to raise money for good causes, and there's no better cause than Carers Australia. But secondly, it has been a chance for me and many of my colleagues over the last 16 years to get out of the political comfort zone and to visit parts of Australia that politicians don't normally see. This year, for instance, we're going through places like Halls Gap, Ararat, Dunkeld, as well as larger centres like Mount Gambier and Ballarat on our way from Adelaide through to Geelong. But these small places are the sorts of places where hundreds of thousands, even millions of Australians call home. And it's important that while they are off the politically beaten track, they are not neglected by senior leaders of our country. And speaking for myself, I think I can honestly say that my insights into our country have deepened because of the experience of Pollie Pedal over the last 16 years. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as I am in public life, this will be a significant part of my year. I think it's part of the political character and personality that I've developed over the last 16 years, and I'm really proud to have been associated with so many good causes and with such fine colleagues in that time. Now, I'm going to ask Kevin to say a few words because of all of my parliamentary colleagues, Kevin has probably been the most consistent Pollie Pedaler. But before asking Kevin to say a few words, I should particularly acknowledge Andrew Southcott because along with Jackie Kelly and Ross Cameron, Andrew was one of the original Pollie Pedalers. It was in fact in Andrew's office back in 1997 that the original idea for the Pollie Pedal came about. You might remember back then it was not a particularly good time to be a Member of Parliament. Politicians were not particularly well thought of. There'd been a lot of resignations in the first Howard term. There was a certain member for Oxley crusading around the country, saying that the whole system was rotten to the core. And Andrew and Ross and Jackie and I thought that one thing we could do to try to raise the reputation of politicians was something that was a little bit selfless, something that was a little bit humble and out of the ordinary, and hence the idea of a long-distance charity bike ride, staying in caravan parks and visiting parts of Australia that most politicians didn't see was born. So, Kevin, over to you, and then to Ara.
Thanks, Tony. Ara, Stuart, Andrew, Michael. Can I reiterate what Tony has said for this 16th Pollie Pedal? The great delight for me is not just being out in the countryside and pedalling along with a group of mates on bikes. It's the opportunity to visit such a number of small communities throughout Australia. I remember, I think it was last year, visiting a carers group in Colac before we started riding to Geelong for the start, or visiting a group in Narnagoon, places that are, you know, not on the map of most ordinary Australians. And these people are really the heart and the soul of Australia. The life of Australia exists in small communities right across this broad nation, and this gives us an opportunity to give something back to them, but also to hear their stories. And many of them have done it tough. When you're talking about people who are carers, it's not only those that they're caring for. There are extraordinary efforts by so many Australians, old and middle-aged and young, that they make towards contributing to the well-being of their family and friends around them. And that really is, as I said, the heart and the soul of this nation. So to be part of that, to have the opportunity of meeting so many Australians on this journey from Adelaide to Geelong this year through a whole range of large and small towns and virtually villages, I think is a great thing for us to be able to do, and to be able to do it for an organisation such as Carers Australia, I think is wonderful as an example, I hope, to other Australians, and as an acknowledgement of the great work which so many people right across this country do.
Thanks, well said, Kevin. Ara?
Thank you. Carers Australia is absolutely delighted to once again be the recipient of the charity funds from the Pollie Pedal Ride. Last year was an exciting and incredibly important event in our calendar. There are 2.6 million unpaid family carers in this country. The replacement cost of those carers is over $40 billion a year. So if every carer was to pull out the unpaid care and support they give to their loved ones today, the country would need around $900 million a week to pay for the care for the people who are supported by family carers at home. We believe that supporting carers is incredibly important. We're delighted, therefore, to be the recipient of the funds from Pollie Pedal. It made a big difference last year. It made a difference on the ground in the lives of carers, and systemically. We're able to do a lot more to raise awareness of what is being done to make the country care aware. We are really delighted that Australians are beginning to understand that next door, at home, in our community, there are people who are carers who are doing something important to keep our country afloat. If 1 in 8 Australians is a carer, that means in all probability some of us here today are carers. It's an incredibly important role, and most carers will tell us it's something they absolutely cherish. What we want to see is that those carers are supported, that they're recognised, supported and celebrated. Pollie Pedal gives us the opportunity to do that. We very much thank everybody involved in Pollie Pedal. Thank you very much to Mr. Abbott and his team. Thank you to all those people who sponsor, to the people who do the hard yards, and this year we have one of our own staff riding. So one of the Carers Australia staff will be riding this year, which is exciting for us. But there are a whole lot of people behind Pollie Pedal, volunteers, who are there to make sure this happens. It's an incredibly important event in Australia's calendar because it is about giving back to the community. Carers Australia is very glad that we are the one being showcased. We are very glad that Australia gets to acknowledge that we have that 1 in 8 Australians is doing something really important. Thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you for again naming us as the recipient for this incredibly important event. We are really looking forward to getting on the bike for some and in behind the wheel for some of us for the next Pollie Pedal.
Thanks so much.